by safely removing the plaque in your arteries and restoring function naturally. Guys, let me be clear. Pills will never fix your problem. Our equipment is the latest technology, and our medical staff is the best in the industry. And right now, we're offering a free treatment just for coming in. That's right. You can try this treatment at no cost. If you suffer from ED or Peyronie's disease, give West Coast Men's Health a call today. It's not just about better health, it's about a better life.
With clinics in San Mateo and Sacramento, call 650-649-7944. That's 650-649-7944. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com. Call 844-484-3872 and let us know what you think. The Dan Bongino Show.
Lisa Booth filling in for Dan Bongino. So I don't know if you've been following this story about the rise and fall of this young guy called Sam Bankman-Fried. He is the second largest donor to Democrats, just second of George Soros. Crashed and burned, maybe one of the biggest financial scandals in the country. But we have Charles Gasparino from Fox Business, Fox News, to break it all down for us. Charles, thanks so much for joining the show. I've been watching you cover this, and I feel like you've just done the best job explaining it to the viewers.
Thank you.
So I was like, we're going to have him on.
I've seen this act before.
Well,
you know?
And Charles, like, it's great. It kind of feels like a soap opera because there's all these twists and turns. So if you can, for people maybe if they haven't been following this story, give us just like the quick 30,000-foot overview and why this story is important.
Well, I mean, here's a kid. He's a kid, right? He was in his 20s when he kind of burst on the scene where he tapped into the crypto craze. And he was a guy that worked at hedge fund, and so, you know, was a modest to good trader. But, you know, when the Fed is printing money like it was printing over the last 3 years, you know, you can be an average trader and make a lot of money. And that's kind of what happened. And somehow he parlayed his trading, I guess acumen is a good way to say, with a huge dose of PR. He had parents that gave him access to the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party elite, and very well connected. Both parents are Stanford law professors, and you know his mom was essentially one of the biggest bundlers for Democratic candidates in the country. So he had connections, and he kind of used those connections to create this interesting image of a sort of nerdy, techie kid who is an outsider and who figured out how to make billions and also be a good capitalist. I mean, that's part of his sales shtick, was this sort of woke aspect of his capitalism, that he wanted to give back stuff. He put all that together and it sold to a really sort of let's just say complacent media. You know, as we know, the mainstream media, you know, they like to say shots at us over us at Fox, but you know, they bought this guy's BS hook, line, and sinker. He was on the cover of Forbes, the next, or Fortune, as the next Warren Buffett. By the way, Warren Buffett became a gazillionaire, right? He's not a billionaire like 50 times over, but he did it over a long career. This guy literally made his paper wealth in 3 years. So that'll just tell you something. That should be suspect right there. And then if you sort of dive into his business model, you really did a deep dive, and obviously not a lot of reporters did, as they were covering him. Just so you know, I never really covered the guy until recently. You know, I barely knew
Charles, why do you think he got a pass, though? Was it because he was so cozy with Democrats?
Yes, that, the wokeness, he sold it and packaged himself so well. He did make a ton of paper wealth for a time, and, you know, that buys access, and people are always looking for the next billionaire. He was a billionaire on paper. As soon as you become a billionaire on paper, take it from me, people start writing about you, right? You get your face on, you know, the tech magazines, right? Especially if it's crypto, which was all the rage. So he parlayed all of that together. But I'll tell you, once he became a star, and once he became, you know, was on the cover of Fortune, and if you were covering this, and this is what I don't understand about my colleagues, particularly in the tech media, if you just started doing a deep dive into this guy's, like how he did his business, it was really weird. I mean, he had a side hedge fund along with a crypto exchange, they were essentially the same company. Right there, that raises red flags and conflicts of interest. And as you know, that's kind of how it imploded. He created a crypto known as FTT, which, you know, I know doggy coin was kind of a gimmick, right? But, you know, this FTT wasn't that much far behind. And there was and then particularly towards the end, like I would say in the last 6 months, when crypto was starting to essentially collapse, this guy was out there spending more money and buying stuff.
How much money is gone?
I think it's all gone. I mean, I don't know for sure.
How much did investors lose, do we think?
You know, the thing was valued at something like $30 billion. I think the hole that investors face is $15 billion. And you know, and listen, every time one of these things happen, like Madoff, you say, "Oh, it's gone, you never find it." Usually, you find something. So I mean, I don't want to say it's all gone, but from what I understand, because I know some of the people that did business with him, particularly in the late stages, they're very pessimistic about about people getting their money back. I mean, he literally took. This is what it was essentially what the bankruptcy trustee said, so it kind of matches what's been reported. And what I'm hearing, he literally took money that was allegedly segregated accounts in his crypto exchange and used it to meet margin calls on the trading side, particularly on his, FTT token that he was heavily invested in that was getting crushed in terms of pricing. And when you do that, your money evaporates. So I think that's the problem.
And he donated, $40 million to Democrats. Just for people at home, I'm Lisa Booth filling in for Dan Bongino. We've got Charles Gasparino from Fox Business, Fox News on the line here, breaking down the FTX scandal. So this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, he donated $40 million to Democrats this election cycle alone, $10 million to get Joe Biden elected in 2020.
Right.
He donated, for the people at home, to members of Congress who are tasked with overseeing and regulating the crypto industry. So, Charles, what did that money buy him?
Well, it bought him a sort of cachet. You know what I'm saying? So he went before Congress, I believe. He kind of talked about crypto regulation. He was one of the guys that was trying to steer crypto regulation in a certain way, which was a lighter touch. Oddly, and this is where it gets kind of interesting. He met with Gary Gensler, the head of the Securities and Exchange Commission, who was kind of like on a warpath on crypto, but still, he was able to get in that meeting and pitch him an SEC-regulated crypto exchange, like a much more regulated one than even the one that he was operating, something that has the direct imprimatur of the SEC, and they were working towards that, literally with another company, they were working towards that with the SEC, literally to the day he blew up. So that kind of, to me, now this is just me speaking, my opinion, if you're able to get a crypto skeptic in the Biden administration interested in your crypto exchange, well then, those Democratic Party ties, Gary Gensler is a big time Democrat, he runs the Securities and Exchange Commission, they have an impact. So this story, listen, every one of these stories are different in terms of the sort of nuances. I mean, if you follow this stuff, I write a column for the New York Post every week. I want something on this on Sunday, and the Post has been covering some of the weird dealings that went on at his Bahamas mansion with his girlfriend, and it's really there's a crazy side story to this. There's also him being the bizarre kind of hoodie wearing Gen Z or millennial, scoffing at, all us old baby boomers and, how we rely on balance sheets and checks and balances. He's scoffing at his education. Oh, no one needs to go to college. And, it was just funny. Look at him. But at bottom, all these sort of scandals like this, implosions, have kind of common elements. A trader, probably who everybody says is good, it's not, and it's not really that good. It's really too deep. Because of his own hubris, he thinks he could trade his way out of it. The best traders never trade their way out of it. They just cut their losses and move on to the next one. But these guys, they could trade their way out of it. And then in trading their way out of it, realizing that they need more capital to trade their way out of it, they start doing sleazy stuff. And it's always taking money somewhere or dipping into customer accounts. And Bernie Madoff's space, he tried to trade his way out of his massive losses, and The only thing you could do was create a Ponzi scheme.